Hello everyone, this is Apple Story Channel, and today you might want to sit down, because what I'm about to tell you will change the way you think about water forever. We see it every day, we drink it, we swim in it, but the truth is, our planet's water hides stories more unbelievable than fiction. Every drop you touch has been here for billions of years, and yes, that means the water in your glass right now could have once passed through the body of a dinosaur. Scientists estimate that every molecule of water on Earth is ancient, endlessly recycled through rivers, clouds, oceans, and even living beings. You've never truly had fresh water in your life, it's all secondhand from the dawn of time. Now, let's talk about the oceans, because that's where the real madness begins. The Pacific Ocean is so huge, it could fit every continent on Earth inside it, with room to spare. Its deepest point, the Mariana Trench, is nearly 11 kilometers down, that's deeper than Mount Everest is tall. Down there, the pressure is over 1,000 times what we feel at sea level. If you tried to dive without protection, you'd be crushed instantly, yet life still thrives there. There are creatures so alien-looking, they could be straight from a horror movie, but they're as real as the ground under your feet. And here's something that will bend your mind, most of the life in the ocean is still completely unknown to us. Scientists say we've only explored about 5% of the ocean floor. That means 95% of it remains uncharted, mysterious, and potentially home to species we can't even imagine. In fact, more people have walked on the moon than have visited the deepest part of the ocean. Let's move to lakes for a second. Did you know there's a lake in Russia that holds 1/5 of the world's unfrozen freshwater? Lake Baikal. It's over 25 million years old and goes more than 1.6 kilometers deep. If you drained it, you could supply every person on Earth with drinking water for more than 50 years. Its waters are so clear that on some days you can see over 40 meters down. And hidden in that clarity lives a species of seal that exists nowhere else on the planet. Scientists still argue how it got there. But not all lakes are safe. Take Lake Natron in Tanzania, it's so alkaline that it can literally mummify animals. Birds that accidentally land on it often don't make it out. The water's pH can reach almost 10.5, and temperatures can hit 60 degrees Celsius. The minerals in it preserve dead creatures in eerie stone-like form, creating natural statues. And then there's the Dead Sea, where you can float effortlessly because its salinity is almost 10 times higher than the ocean. The salt content is so extreme that no fish can survive there. But here's the twist, there are bacteria and microbial lifeforms that love it, thriving in conditions that would kill almost anything else. If you think rivers are safer, think again. The Amazon River is so massive that at some points it is wider than the distance from New York City to Philadelphia. It releases so much water into the Atlantic that more than 160 kilometers out at sea, the water is still fresh. And yet, hidden in its depths are electric eels capable of delivering shocks strong enough to knock a grown human unconscious. Speaking of danger, the ocean itself is constantly moving in ways that can kill without warning. Rogue waves, walls of water over 20 meters high, can appear out of nowhere even on a calm day, swallowing entire ships. For centuries sailors thought they were myths, until satellites finally caught them on camera in the 1990s. And here's a fact that always leaves people silent, the ocean contains an estimated 20 million tons of gold. Yes, real gold. But it's so diluted in seawater that extracting it would cost far more than it's worth. Still, every time you swim in the sea, you're literally surrounded by treasure. You see, water is not just a substance, it's a living archive of Earth's history, a deadly force, a cradle for strange life, and a mirror of how little we actually understand our own planet. And the more we look, the more the facts don't just surprise us, they make us question what else might be hiding beneath the surface. Alright, let's keep going, because trust me, we've barely dipped our toes into this ocean of facts. Some of the most dangerous waters on Earth aren't vast oceans but tiny, hidden death traps. Take Boiling Lake in Dominica, the second largest hot spring in the world. From a distance, it looks like a serene gray-blue pool, but get close and you'll see steam hissing from its surface. The water there reaches temperatures close to 100 degrees Celsius. Scientists believe it's heated by magma chambers deep below, and if you were to fall in, you wouldn't even have time to scream before severe burns took over. And then there's the Devil's Kettle in Minnesota, a waterfall with a mystery so strange that for years even geologists couldn't explain it. Half the water tumbles down into a visible pool, but the other half disappears into a hole and seems to vanish without a trace. Researchers tried dye, ping pong balls, even GPS trackers, nothing emerged downstream. Only recently did they find evidence that the missing water actually reconnects underground and flows back into the river, but the mystery kept people guessing for decades. Now, picture a lake that literally changes color. Lake Hillier in Australia is bubblegum pink, and no, it's not Photoshop. Its color comes from a combination of salt and algae that produce a red pigment, giving the water its surreal shade. It stays pink year-round, and even if you bottle it, the color doesn't fade. Imagine swimming there, it would feel like stepping into a fantasy world. But some places take strange waters to a terrifying extreme. In the Gulf of Mexico, there's a phenomenon called a brine pool, a lake within the ocean made of water so salty it's denser than the seawater above it. These pools sit on the seafloor like alien puddles, and anything that falls and dies almost instantly because of the lack of oxygen and extreme salinity. Scientists exploring them with submersibles have described it as looking into another planet. If you want bizarre, let's talk about Lake Vostok in Antarctica, a body of water buried under more than 4 kilometers of ice. It's been sealed off from the surface for at least 15 million years. In 2012, scientists drilled down and took samples, discovering microbes that could survive without sunlight in complete isolation. Some scientists even speculate that studying it could give us clues about life on other worlds, like Jupiter's moon Europa. And speaking of ice, did you know that over 68% of the world's fresh water is locked in glaciers and ice caps? That means most of our drinkable water is frozen solid. If those glaciers melted completely, sea levels could rise by over 60 meters, drowning entire cities worldwide. And the scary part? They're melting faster than anyone predicted. But water isn't just deadly or beautiful, sometimes it's plain weird. There's a river in Colombia called Cano Cristales, known as the River of Five Colors. For part of the year, it transforms into a flowing rainbow thanks to a unique aquatic plant that changes color in the sunlight. The effect is so striking it's called the most beautiful river in the world, yet for decades it was hidden from outsiders due to conflict in the region. Then there's the underwater waterfall of Mauritius. From above, it looks like the ocean is pouring into a massive hole in the earth. In reality, it's an optical illusion created by sand and silt sliding off an underwater shelf, but the effect is so realistic it feels like the planet is draining itself right before your eyes. And if you think water is just about Earth, let me blow your mind. Astronomers have discovered a giant cloud of water vapor floating in space, over 12 billion light-years away. It contains 140 trillion times the amount of water in all of Earth's oceans combined. It's literally the largest known source of water in the universe, and it's orbiting a supermassive black hole. We've looked at the surface, the depths, and even beyond our planet, and still, every time we turn over another stone, water surprises us. The truth is, we might never run out of mind-bending stories, because water isn't just part of Earth, it is Earth, shaping landscapes, sustaining life, and hiding secrets in its endless flow. And the deeper we go, the stranger it gets. Then let's go deeper, because now we're entering the territory where water isn't just fascinating, it's downright unsettling. In the Philippines, there's a place called Enchanted River. It's an unbelievably clear, deep blue river that seems to appear out of nowhere in the middle of a jungle. Locals say it's bottomless, and divers have gone down over 80 meters without finding where it truly begins. Even stranger, no one has ever seen a fish being caught there, despite plenty swimming in its waters. People whisper about supernatural guardians, but scientists admit the source of its intense color and exact origin is still not fully understood. And speaking of mystery, there's a phenomenon in the ocean called the Milky Sea. Imagine sailing at night and looking overboard to see the water glowing in eerie blue-white as far as the eye can see. This isn't bioluminescent plankton in small patches, it's entire stretches of ocean glowing for hundreds of kilometers, bright enough to be seen from space. The glow is caused by massive colonies of bioluminescent bacteria, but why they sometimes gather in such enormous numbers remains unsolved. Sailors have recorded it for centuries, yet it's still one of the ocean's great mysteries. Then there's a river in Peru that literally boils. Known as the Chanaitempishka, it's about 6 kilometers long and can reach temperatures hot enough to cook meat. Locals once considered it a myth, but scientists confirmed it's heated by geothermal energy. The water is so dangerous that a single misstep could mean death in minutes. If that's not enough, let's talk about whirlpools. Most are harmless, but then there's the Saltstraumen in Norway, the strongest tidal current in the world. Every 6 hours, over 400 million cubic meters of water rush through a narrow channel, creating whirlpools up to 10 meters wide. Boats can be pulled under if they get too close. It's raw, visible power, like watching the ocean flex its muscles. And here's something that might keep you up at night: the Baltic Sea has an anoxic zone, areas completely devoid of oxygen, stretching over 60,000 square kilometers. Nothing larger than microbes can survive there. It's like an underwater desert, and its size has been growing due to pollution and climate changes. Imagine diving into a part of the sea where life itself simply stops. Now, let's travel to Mexico, where you'll find the Cave of Swallows, not filled with birds, but with a hidden pool deep inside one of the largest cave shafts in the world. It's so deep that base jumpers leap from its rim and freefall for seconds before hitting the water. The shaft is so massive it could swallow the Statue of Liberty with room to spare. But if you think that's extreme, let's head to the Arctic. Beneath the ice, scientists discovered brinicles, also called ice fingers of death. These are tubes of supercold, salty water that sink down from sea ice. When they touch the ocean floor, they freeze everything they touch, trapping sea creatures in instant ice prisons. It's one of the most haunting natural processes you can see, and it looks like something straight out of a science fiction nightmare. And here's the fact that still amazes even seasoned oceanographers: the largest waterfall on Earth isn't on land. It's underwater, between Greenland and Iceland. The Denmark Strait Cataract drops over 3,500 meters, 3 times the height of the tallest waterfall you've seen on land. Massive amounts of cold water plunge beneath warmer water, creating this hidden giant that almost no one talks about. The truth is, the more we learn, the more it feels like water has no limits. It shapes worlds, hides dangers, and carries beauty that defies logic. And if you think we've reached the most shocking facts, we're still just skimming the surface. The next set will take us into places so extreme, they push the boundaries of what humans can survive. Alright, let's step straight into the waters where human survival hangs by a thread, because these places are as real as they are deadly. In Namibia, there's a stretch of coastline called the Skeleton Coast. From the shore it might look like any other beach, but the waters here are treacherous. Cold currents from the Atlantic mix with hot desert air, creating constant fog and violent waves. Shipwrecks litter the shoreline like bones, and that's where the name comes from. Many sailors who managed to survive a wreck here faced a far worse fate, trapped in one of the most inhospitable deserts on Earth, with no fresh water in sight. Then we have Lake Kivu, sitting between Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of Congo. At first glance it's stunning, peaceful blue waters surrounded by green hills. But underneath lies one of the largest concentrations of dissolved carbon dioxide and methane gas in the world. If a volcanic eruption or earthquake ever disturbed the lake, those gases could be released in a deadly wave, suffocating millions of people in minutes. This type of event, called a limnic eruption, has happened before on a smaller scale, in 1986 at Lake Nyos in Cameroon, where a sudden gas release silently killed over 1,700 people in a single night. In Japan, the Naruto Strait has whirlpools that form like clockwork, some reaching 20 meters in diameter. They're not just a tourist attraction, they're strong enough to capsize small boats. Fishermen here have learned to navigate with surgical precision, timing their crossings to avoid the ocean's wrath. But for sheer unpredictability, few things beat the Drake Passage, the stretch of ocean between South America and Antarctica. This is where 3 massive oceans meet, and the waves can tower over 12 meters high. Even the most seasoned sailors dread it, because it's a place where the weather can shift from calm to chaos in minutes. And beneath those waves? Icebergs, some the size of cities, drifting silently. And yet, water can be just as dangerous when it looks completely still. The Blue Hole of Belize is a massive underwater sinkhole over 300 meters across and more than 120 meters deep. Divers are drawn to it from all over the world, but it has claimed many lives. As you descend, the water becomes darker, colder, and more silent, and nitrogen narcosis can set in, causing disorientation that's often fatal. Now here's something most people don't know: there's an entire lost lake beneath the Antarctic ice sheet called Lake Mercer, buried under a kilometer of ice. Scientists only reached it in 2019, and when they drilled in, they found microbial life and the remains of tiny animals. It's been sealed away for thousands of years, untouched by the sun, and yet life still found a way to survive. And if you think lakes can't be fast-moving, you've never heard of glacial outburst floods. These happen when a glacier melts rapidly, releasing millions of tons of water in a sudden rush. They can wipe out everything in their path, moving faster than a person can run. In Iceland, entire bridges and roads have been torn away in minutes by these sudden torrents. But perhaps the most haunting fact of all is this: no matter how advanced our technology gets, there are still more unknowns beneath the surface of our oceans than there are in deep space. We've mapped the moon and Mars in more detail than our own seafloor. Which means for every bizarre or deadly water phenomenon we've discovered, there could be dozens more waiting in complete darkness. And the deeper we go, the more it feels like the planet is holding on to secrets it's not ready to give up. Then let's dive straight into the human side of these waters, because some of the strangest, most dangerous water stories don't come from nature alone, they come from us. In Thailand, there's a tradition known as the Naga fireballs. Every year along the Mekong River, locals gather to watch glowing orbs rise silently from the water into the night sky. Scientists have debated for decades whether it's flammable gas from the riverbed igniting or something else entirely, but no one has a conclusive answer. The phenomenon has been recorded for generations, and even with modern equipment, it still defies full explanation. In Venice, Italy, the water isn't just part of the city, it's the city. The canals are famous, but what's less known is that Venice is slowly sinking. Combined with rising sea levels, parts of the city experience flooding more frequently than ever before. The annual phenomenon called acqua alta can turn entire piazzas into shallow lakes. The irony is that while water built Venice's beauty, it might also be what eventually takes it away. Then there's the Yonaguni Monument off the coast of Japan, a massive underwater stone structure that some believe is the remains of an ancient city, now submerged. Divers swim through corridors and steps carved into the rock, but debate rages over whether it's a natural formation or human-made ruin swallowed by the sea thousands of years ago. If it is man-made, it would rewrite part of human history. In Bolivia, Lake Poopó once covered over 3,000 square kilometers, but in 2015 it dried up almost entirely, leaving behind a cracked desert where fishing boats now lie abandoned in the dust. Scientists say it's a warning of how fragile our lakes are under the combined pressure of climate change and human water use. What took nature thousands of years to create vanished in just a few decades. And in the Netherlands, water isn't just a natural feature, it's an enemy they've fought for centuries. 2/3 of the country is vulnerable to flooding, so the Dutch built one of the most advanced flood defense systems in the world. Their massive sea barriers, storm surge gates, and canal systems keep the North Sea at bay. Without them, millions of people would be underwater within days. Even recreational water activities have their dark side. The annual polar bear plunge, where people jump into icy waters in the middle of winter, seems harmless fun until you realize that sudden immersion in near-freezing water can shock the body into cardiac arrest in under a minute. Yet every year, thousands take the risk. And then there's free diving, the sport of diving deep underwater on a single breath. Elite divers can reach depths of over 100 meters without scuba gear, holding their breath for more than 4 minutes. The danger is immense: blackout, lung squeeze, or disorientation can happen in seconds. Still, for those who do it, the call of the deep is worth the risk. In some parts of the world, water isn't just dangerous because of depth or current, it's dangerous because it's disappearing. The Aral Sea, once the 4th largest lake on Earth, has lost over 90% of its water since the 1960s due to irrigation projects. The exposed lakebed turned into a toxic desert, filled with pesticide dust that spreads for hundreds of kilometers. Fishing villages now sit stranded, miles from the nearest water. But perhaps the most mind-bending human-water interaction is the iceberg harvest in Greenland. Massive chunks of ancient glacier ice, thousands of years old, are cut from floating icebergs and shipped around the world for luxury drinks. Imagine sipping a cocktail chilled by ice that fell as snow before human civilization even existed. The truth is, water shapes us as much as we shape it. Our survival, our traditions, even our mistakes, are all tied to it. And for every story we know, countless others are still hidden, in the depths, in the ice, and in the currents that flow silently beneath our feet. If you're ready, the next journey will take us into the waters that defy science itself, places so strange, even the experts struggle to explain them. That's where the real chills begin. Alright, let's step into the waters that push science to its limits, places so strange and unexplained that even the experts, with all their technology and data, are left scratching their heads. In the Caribbean, there's a phenomenon known as the Blue Hole of Andros. Divers who explore it sometimes report sudden, dramatic temperature drops in currents that seem to come from nowhere. Some scientists believe these holes are connected to vast underwater cave systems that stretch for miles, but mapping them is nearly impossible. What makes it even stranger is that divers have found layers of toxic hydrogen sulfide gas deep inside, where light disappears and life becomes almost non-existent. It's like swimming into another world. And speaking of otherworldly, in Yellowstone National Park there's the Grand Prismatic Spring, the largest hot spring in the United States, with colors so vivid it looks painted. The rainbow effect comes from heat-loving bacteria that thrive in different temperature zones, yet the center is so hot no life can survive there at all. The water constantly shifts in hue, and to this day scientists are still studying how such extreme conditions can host such vibrant ecosystems. Then there's Jacob's Well in Texas, a seemingly small, calm spring that hides a vertical shaft dropping into a complex cave system. It's a favorite spot for divers, but it's also one of the most dangerous dive sites in the world. Multiple explorers have lost their lives trying to navigate its tight, twisting passages. The well is fed by the Trinity Aquifer, and its flow is so powerful it can push divers back toward the surface. Yet, the deeper you go, the more the passageways branch into labyrinth-like corridors that lead into pure darkness. In the Maldives, there's a phenomenon called glowing beaches. At night, the shoreline lights up in shimmering blue, as if stars have fallen into the water. This is caused by bioluminescent plankton reacting to movement, but the intensity can vary so wildly that some nights the beach glows bright enough to walk without a flashlight. Locals say the experience feels like. In Croatia, there's a natural phenomenon called the Blue Cave on Bisevo Island. Inside, the sunlight enters through an underwater opening, refracts off the seabed, and fills the entire cave with an electric blue glow. The effect is so intense it looks artificial, but it's completely natural. Divers describe it as stepping into a liquid sapphire. Scientists understand the refraction physics, but the surreal beauty still leaves them speechless. In Canada, there's Spotted Lake in British Columbia. During summer, most of the water evaporates, leaving behind hundreds of circular pools in colors ranging from yellow to green to blue. Each spot contains different minerals, magnesium, calcium, sodium sulfates, in concentrations so high you could walk between them like stepping stones. It looks like an alien planet's surface, yet it's just Earth playing with chemistry. Then there's the Blood Falls in Antarctica, a crimson stream that pours out from under the Taylor Glacier into Lake Bonny. The shocking red color comes from iron-rich water that's been trapped beneath the glacier for over 1 million years. When it meets the air, it oxidizes, creating what looks like an endless flow of blood spilling into the ice. This water is so cut off from the outside world that it supports microbes living in conditions no other known life could handle. In the middle of the Pacific Ocean lies Point Nemo, the most remote location on Earth's oceans. It's so far from land that the nearest humans are often the astronauts aboard the International Space Station, orbiting above. In this watery nowhere, strange acoustic signals have been recorded, some still unexplained. One of the most famous, called the bloop, was so loud it was detected over 5,000 kilometers away. While scientists eventually suggested it came from icequakes, the sheer scale of the sound leaves room for speculation. And then there's the underwater river in Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula. In the Cenote Angelita, divers descend into fresh water until, at around 30 meters down, they hit what looks like a riverbed complete with trees and banks. But it's not a second river, it's a layer of hydrogen sulfide that forms a surreal, toxic fog between the fresh water above and the salt water below. Swimming through it feels like crossing into another world. One of the strangest cases of water behaving badly is Lake Mono in California. This alkaline lake has no outlet, so minerals have built up over thousands of years, making it almost 3 times saltier than the ocean. The water is so dense that you float effortlessly, and bizarre limestone towers called tufa spires rise from the depths like ancient ruins. Yet despite the extreme conditions, the lake teems with life. Trillions of brine shrimp and millions of birds use it as a crucial stop on migration routes. And here's one for pure mystery, the eternal whirlpool of Corryvreckan, Scotland. Officially classified as one of the largest permanent whirlpools in the world, it's so powerful it can be heard from miles away. The combination of strong tides and unusual underwater topography makes it unpredictable and dangerous, and divers who've explored it describe the sensation of being pulled toward a spinning abyss. The strangest part about all of this is that every one of these places exists right now on our planet, quietly defying what most people think water can do. We like to think we understand the natural world, but every time we explore a little deeper, water shows us it can be beautiful, lethal, and utterly alien, sometimes all at once. And so, we close this journey through the world's most unbelievable waters, from boiling rivers and glowing seas to ancient lakes sealed beneath ice and oceans so deep they could swallow mountains whole. If there's one thing these stories prove, it's that water is never just water. It's a shapeshifter, a storyteller, a force that can give life or take it away in an instant. It hides history in its depths, carries mysteries across continents, and reminds us how little we truly understand about the planet we call home. Every drop you've ever touched has traveled through time, across landscapes and through living things, bearing witness to moments billions of years old. And somewhere right now, beneath crushing darkness or frozen silence, another secret is waiting to be found, proof that the most fascinating worlds aren't in distant galaxies, but right here on Earth, flowing quietly around us. This is Apple Story Channel, signing off, but remember, the next time you look at a river, a lake, or the ocean, you might just be staring at the edge of another great mystery.